And hello everyone, welcome back to another HTML tutorial. So I cut the previous tutorial a bit short because we already spent like 30 minutes in there, which is very long. So if you haven't seen that tutorial yet, I do recommend you do, because we're going to be building off of that tutorial. So yeah, so in this tutorial we'll be talking about form and input attributes. If you forgot what an attribute is, it's this. That right there, that's called an attribute. So let's put a value attribute here, and let's say I am cool, right? So that will just put some text in here. And let's say we don't want the user to be able to edit the text in here. So currently I can edit it without a problem. Now I can just say read only. This will make sure that the user cannot actually edit anything in here. So I can try and edit as much as I want, but this is read only, so I'm not allowed to. We can also disable an input, so we can say disable. It's similar to read only, but it's more intense with the fact that it's literally disabled. You cannot do anything with this. It's completely turned off, you could say. You basically turned off the component. You can also change the size and make it something like, let's say 4, and that will make it shorter. And let's make it 10, and we'll make it nice and long. Let's make it 100, make it very nice and long. You can see here. So you can use the size to also set how long an input should be. And we've already covered things such as max length and max and min length. So if you haven't heard of those or you don't know what they are, I do recommend you go watch the previous tutorial, even though it's a pretty long one. You also have a pattern attribute, and this pattern attribute will just basically tell the user how they are allowed to insert their stuff here. So if I do this, and let's actually remove this value because that might cause problems. So if I do this, this pattern is called regex. You don't need to know regex. You don't need to care about the pattern attribute. This is for future reference. But anyway, so I can put anything in here. If I try and say submit, it says the format is incorrect. That is because this is only allowed to be 3 characters long, and it is not allowed to have numbers. So if I say dsdwd, that's allowed. If I say sdsd, that's not allowed because it's more than 3 characters. If I say 1, 2, 3, it's not allowed. So yeah, that's about what regex does. It allows you to set a pattern, and if that pattern is matched, then it's allowed to be input. If it's not matched, then it's not allowed to be input. Some pattern you might find useful is something like a phone number pattern, and this is copied directly from WeSchools because I can't do regex to save my life. Now, you might not understand this, I don't understand this, but basically, if you're just going to do that, it's not going to allow it. You need to put in some sort of a valid phone number. For example, 123-999 dash, or that should just be 2 dash, like that. So that would be considered a valid phone number in some locations. Not in South Africa, but it would be considered a valid phone number in some places. Next up, we also have the step attribute. Now, the step attribute says with how much something should step. So here I can just go say number, and now if we go like this, it will step by 3 every time. So if I go here and make that 11, now it will step by 3 yet again. So step just basically says how much it should step by. So should it go by 3, should it go by 1? By default it's usually 1, but you can change it to anything from -100 to +40. Now, when we refresh the page, you'll notice if we start typing, it doesn't do anything. Now, we can make it so when we start typing, it automatically starts typing in here on page refresh or page load. I'm going to change this back to text. And that is by doing the autofocus attribute. Now, the autofocus attribute basically means once I refresh, I can start typing, and this will be what's autofocused. You can only have one autofocus attribute in your form, because if you're going to have multiple autofocus attributes on your inputs, so let's say like this, it won't know which one to autofocus on, so it will take the first one it sees. So if we go like this, it's not going to autofocus on this one because you can't focus on 2 at the same time. And I think that's good enough for the input. Next up, we can go to the form. So, first one I want to talk about is the action attribute. Now, this is something we didn't really cover in previous video, we just removed it. Now, basically, this action attribute says where the form is going to go to. So to which page? So I can say /index. So let's say this is the login page. So this is /index, and I will go to the index page, and we can just select .php or something. Now, if we were to just submit this, it's going to say it cannot get index.php because index.php doesn't exist. Currently, I don't really know how to show this to you without actually showing you some real backend. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to show you some real backend, but don't worry, I will make sure it's not too complicated. Now here I have another VS Code open. Now this is Python and it's using Flask, so you don't have to worry too much about everything you're seeing here. So let's just go to login. Now this is the login page. Now as you can see, here we have a form. And the form's action is going to go to /login. And we can actually see this. So if we go here, just move this to the side. We go here. We can actually go to this location. So let me just open link. So if I were to now go to sign in, we have a login option here. I can try and log in user with my password if that's a valid password. No, it's not. Okay. Here we can then do Jack and a valid password. And there we go. Now what's happened here? Basically, this form sent us to the /login page. Or no. This is the, if we want to sign up. This is if we want to log in. It's strange, it's a little confusing. But basically, if it's the sign up page, then take us to the login form. If it's not the sign up page, take us to the home page. Now, if you're using PHP, you won't just have it as simple as that, unless you customize your system to be like that. But anyhow, so this will take us to index. Now, index is just a normal page. But in the back end, something that you might find interesting, you don't have to understand any of this. Just take note. This is just for fun sake. Now in the back end, we have a page for, so here's the login page. And then here, let's see here. Here is the index page. Now basically, if we receive a request from the front end, then we check the username and we check the password. We get that from the front end, from the form. So if I were to go here, and I were to just open up my templates again, and I were to go down here, then we have our login, and then here we take in a username of type uname. So here ID is uname and name is uname, but name is what we use here. So if we go here, you'll see we need uname, and it's using that name, not the ID, but the name, and then pwd for password. So it sent a post request, which is just a secure way of sending data to the home page, and the home page basically logged the user in. I'm not going to cover too much of this because it is backend, and we don't know anything about backend yet. But it's just something so that we know about it. Cool. So that is what this action does. It sends you to a specific page. Currently, we won't use it too much, but it's good to know about this for future reference. Now you can also specify a target. For example, you can say target, and if you say _blank, this is by default, and it will take us to a new page. So we say submit. As you can see, it's asking a pop-up, which will take us to a new page. Actually, this isn't default. I think by default, it's self. It just uses this page. Yes. So by default, it's probably self. And yeah, so you can mostly use those two to either open up a new tab when you want to log them in, or just to open up this tab, or just this tab to log them in. It's optional, it's up to you. You also have your method, and with this you can specify the method this form is going to use. By default, I believe it's get, so get. And with get, basically all of the data you're sending will be done here. So in the URL, after this question mark, all of the data will be stored there. So get is if you want to do something that is not secure, but you just want to send data and you want to make sure that if someone else wants to use that URL, they can. Post, on the other hand, is more secure, and it doesn't use this URL up here to send the data. It sends it via a secure networking method. However, that means if someone wants to go to the exact same page as your user, they can't have all of the same data because it's not a get method. So post is if you want to do things with passwords in it or secure details of users in it. Get is if you want to send just general data that if it gets leaked, it's not going to really cause harm to anyone. You don't have to worry about this until you get to backend, so just ignore it if you want to. And yeah, those are all of the basic attributes I wanted to explain. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next HTML tutorial.